Welcome to Massive Beers. My name's Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Going classic. Nugget Nectar. Yeah, it's been so long since I've I had a Nugget Nectar. I see it relatively yearly. I'm in Jersey, Tröegs get it out here, but now I work in Pennsylvania, so it's been staring me in the face. It's been something when it popped up about a week or so ago, I was like, man, I should just re-review this. So here we go. Odd note, though, we'll usually do price points towards the end. The bizarre thing about this is it's available in 6-pack bottles, 4-pack 8-ounce cans. In every single location I've looked at, it is cheaper to buy the bottles than the 4-pack cans. Makes no sense. More liquid, bottles, caps, holders, whole nine. Still cheaper. And it's cheaper in New Jersey than it is in Pennsylvania. Tröegs is in PA. I think that's weird. Figured I'd mention that. Here we go. So we're talking about one of the OG kind of hop-saturated beers. Not an IPA, I believe. I think they scratched it from the label, but I'm pretty sure they classify it as a hoppy red ale. Or at least that's what it was. 21-year anniversary. Good God. It's been that long. What are the hop stays in this sucker? It's 7.5%. It says serve in a tumbler. Close enough. We have a Best By date, which is always poopy. Nugget, Warrior, Tomahawk, Simcoe, and Palisades. A lot of like bittering hops. It is impossible to forget your first Nugget Nectar. Once a year, as a new humulus lupulus harvest arrives at Tröegs, we blend these super fresh hops into an Imperial Amber Ale. There it is. Excessively hopped Nugget Nectar is an explosion of pine, resonant, and mango. We have I wonder what the born on date on this. The Best By date or the Fresh By date is 4/29/25. I think this is December 23rd, 2024. That's my guess based off of the dating code. Label-wise, I've always been a huge fan of Nugget Nectar's art design. Tröegs in general, for the most part, I dig their stuff. Some of their rebranding has been a little bit muted, but I've always really dug that classic gripping the hop kind of thing, so I'm a fan of that. As far as the beer goes, definitely not your classic, or not your new school IPA, sorry. I mean, they call it an Imperial, what did they call it, Amber Ale? Sure, fine. I mean, clear as clear can be. Really you can see me through that, see me through that with the soft carbonation, and just, it's this amber golden glow to it. So, head is a khaki in color. Beautiful. Yeah, it's even good nose. Really what jumps out to me, and I'm not going to say the hops aren't a big player here, it's the malt base here. There's a really big, powerful base malt on this. Sweet crystal malt. 2-row. Actually, they call it the malt here. What's in here? Munich Pilsner Vienna. Comes off very much more bold than that. Comes off as this little bit of sweeter kind of crystal malt. Is the thing that I would lean into for this as far as the flavor profile. At least aromatically. But it just has this nice kind of sweetness to it. And then outside of that is that kind of tannic herbal, floral kind of hop is really the biggest portion of the show here. A little bit of fruitiness in here, nothing too crazy. A little bit of orange jaminess, but it really is this combination of this sweeter kind of crystally kind of maltiness, even though that's not actually what's in there, in combination with this slightly resinous kind of like floral herbal kind of hoppiness. Dive in. Cheers, y'all. It's so crazy that this is Munich Pilsner and Vienna malt. To me, it comes off way more as a bolder, sweeter, and by bolder, sweeter, I don't mean like new school standards, where it's a sweet on sweet on sweet brewer's sugar, under attenuatedness. Just this really nice, squeaky clean, hyper well-made kind of sweetness to it that comes off just stopping short of like almost like a honey malt kind of vibe to me. So to get that from that malt base is really, really interesting. For it to be the kind of foundation, the base, the literal base of what the beer is really, really cool. Super well-made, like hyper crisp, hyper clean, very much old school West Coast beer leanings on this, and that it just comes off as a hyper precision razor's edge, sharp kind of brewer's kind of beer on it. I mean, it is like by far and away like just clean and clean and clean. Listen, we're talking about Tröegs here. No surprise there. They make some of the cleanest, crispest beers in the game. So for them to kind of apply that to a beer like this kind of makes sense. I'm going off kind of new school memory here too, because I don't remember this. It's been a while since I've had it, but it's a very fun beer. The hops, again, the kind of star of the show as far as the label's concerned, isn't this like over the top hop explosion that you would think based off of the name of its history. Is that revisions history, being that there's so many hop saturated beers nowadays, could be the case, but what it does come off as is just a hop-centric beer that just doesn't play by the rules of what West Coast old school IPA, new school IPA goes by. It is that amber ale. It is that reddish kind of amber ale that kind of is, not kind of, is the base of the beer that showcased these kind of tannic tea-like, again, that's the biggest portion of the show, slightly resinous kind of hop that makes for a really drinkable, at 7.5%. It's not a small beer, but at the same time, it drinks so easy. You know, you get a sixer of this, you could probably drink a couple too many of these, not really know it. And that's the trick it pulls off in a very, very fun way. I dig this. I think it's very, very fun. I think it harkens back to a bit of old school, but I think it really stands up to a lot of new school. Very tasty beer. Again, perfectly well made. Is it my favorite hop forward beer? No. Is it bringing a bit of kind of nostalgia and funness to the game? Of course. But as far as a classic, massive beer classic, which is what we'll frame this as we post it, it's a very, very fun beer. I mean, Tröegs, you know, again, one of my favorite breweries and sentence. They make so many great beers from old school, new school, and everything in between. And for have them to keep churning this out in droves, it's widely available at pretty much everywhere I go at a really nice price point. I want to say I got a 6-pack of this in bottles for $11.50 before taxes. You know, at that price point, something like this, you bust it out, you know, a little bit of nostalgia, decent amount of tastiness, and a fun kind of framing for something you typically don't get, that amber ale with a copious amounts of hops. Fun stuff. I dig it. Glad I got a 6er of it. So there you go. Is it Mount Rushmore status for hoppy ales? I mean, that's kind of how we're going to frame this. No. Amber ales, yes. It's one of those beers where I think it just stands on its own, what's the words? Category, something like that. I mean, it is classic, but it's also still relatively unique. It's not like the sexiest kind of combination of malt and beer and presentation, but in the grand scheme of things, it's a really well done beer. Very, very tasty. Bits and pieces floating around up in it. And as far as clear beer goes, it's worthy of being up there, Mount Rushmore status. So, yeah, dig it, love it, taste it. Glad I picked it up. I'm going to pick it up again this year, probably. Maybe I pick up one of those more expensive cans and see if there's any kind of variance there, but in the grand scheme of things, it was fun to revisit, and I'm glad I picked it up. So yeah, Mount Rushmore status. Amber ale, certainly, but that, you know, kind of defaults to that, but a very fun beer nonetheless. Valued availability, like I said, cheaper, weirdly in Jersey, but in the grand scheme of things, you talk about $12 for a 6er. I will buy that and leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like old school beer, if you like hoppy beer, if you like clear beer, if you like well-made beer, and hops are your jam, I think you will dig this. Yeah, done and done. Massive Beers, if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive, podcasting stuff. Talked to Tröegs in the old radio days. Tröegs, have you been to the brewery? I've several times. What's your favorite beer? Mine is a barrel-aged Flying Mouflon, the original one, because that one was aged for 3 years, and that was bonkers. Have you had this beer? Have you had this beer in the past? Somewhere in the semi-recent past? Recently, has it changed for you? Do you still dig it? Do you still buy it? All that fun stuff down there. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of classic-y kind of beers. And hopefully see you next time. Cheers, y'all.